This is a book review of Avengers Scarlet Witch. Now you have to search if you want to find it. Avengers Scarlet Witch. No good looking just for Scarlet Witch. Now it's by Abnett and Lanning. The book came out in 2015. There's 232 pages, predominantly in colour all the way through. There's some black and white, so it's not exactly all colour. And, well, the stories are all over the place. Now they are solo adventures. And that's the thing. I think it's not like a collection of all of Scarlet Witch. When I bought it, I thought that's what it was going to be. I have to say, that's what I thought. Oh, great. It's going to be a Scarlet Witch. But it was the solo adventures. And so there's bits that I think should have been included, like the X-Men issue 4, 5, etc. All those ones. Maybe an Avengers Wanda-centric one, and so on. So there were quite a few stories with like Avengers around 100. Avengers 49, I was going to say. That sort of period with Magneto, where we're very much Wanda was quite central to the story. So I felt that it would have been nice if they included those and a few other ones like Vision and Scarlet Witch. So it could have made it up to about a 500, 400-page book. But anyway, they've just gone for this solo adventure. So there's a lot of adventures and stories that I felt could have been included. However, what does it include? Well, it includes Scarlet Witch 1-4, Avengers Origin, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Also you've got Marvel Team, so it's not really solo there. So it's straight away it's sort of changed it. Marvel Team Up 125, Solo Avengers issue 5, Marvel Comics Presents 60 to 63 and 143 to 144, as well as Mystic Arcana, Scarlet Witch, and a variety of different writers, Dan Abnett and illustrators, John Higgins, etc. And I'm just going to quickly show you the page so you can see all the details. That's obviously letterers, inkers, all those sort of big colourists. So it's slightly odd that they show a picture, obviously, there of Scarlet Witch looking like, obviously, when she was in Avengers, early Avengers / the X-Men, the early issues. And that would have been really nice if they'd maybe included one that was obviously of the period that they were covering, because they didn't cover that period. Also, of course, there was, I was just suddenly thought of another one, the X-Men First Class. Now, Wanda turned up in that occasionally. Not solo, but again, was quite prominent in the story. Would have been lovely if they'd included those. Because I don't think there's a collection of the X-Men First Class. I've never seen one, or if there has, it was a long time ago. Obviously, they came out with the very sort of thin volumes that when it came out. But that was a great series. I loved those. But that would be the sort of thing that would have been brilliant in here. However, they didn't include that. So, I mean, it's still fine. I mean, it's no... it's there. Now I'm just going to quickly run through the book and review of it. This book is all over the place in terms of stories. It's sort of supposedly solo stories. Now, I must admit, sometimes doesn't really ring true, because lots of these things, like here, she's with good old Harkness. And other stories, she's with Doctor Strange. And also other stories, she's with other characters. So not really solo stories, but of course it says first solo limited series. Slightly, but not actually strictly true. Possessed by demons of dark design, as they would. And it's quite nice because you've got a nice twisted version of the West Coast Avengers. And also Master Pandemonium turns up as well. Really love the story. However, the only thing is slightly jarring in the story is the printing. You've got this really nice, clear artwork on this, and then suddenly the page, sort of a slightly odd page on the side. Complete change in printing, which is very odd. Just stands out occasionally. But the story itself is great, because the one thing about it, which I like, is she goes off to Unity. It's sort of like a H.P. Lovecraft, sort of Arkham, Innsmouth, all those sort of places. Love that sort of stuff. So that's really, really good. Goes to this library with all the, of course, various obscure books. A variety of H.P. Lovecraft books in there are mentioned as well. However, the West Coast Avengers storyline is in here, and this actually fills quite a bit of this book. Actually, it's about 100 pages of the storyline. I don't want to show obviously the end, so I'm just going to go through near enough to there. And what's next? Weirdly, you've got pin-ups as well, splitting things, various things, bonus material sitting in certain positions in this book, instead of being right at the back. I must admit, I prefer them all to be in one place at the back. But obviously, maybe different people. But you've got this as well. This one slightly confused me at first. Marvel Team Up, Spider-Man and Tigra. or Tigra. Well, hang on. Oh, it's just down the bottom, of course. That's the thing. Tucked away, a bit like the Strange Tales. You'd have these Doc Strange, would be tiny little thing. Oh, and Doc Strange turns up in this. So plus. So it's actually quite a fun little story, this one. It's really quite nice. It's got Scarlet Witch going shopping and wandering along, and Wong as well, and it's just good little story. Really, really nice. Now, the next story is really nice as well. It's a sort of gothic romance story. And the artwork's really odd, sort of scratchy style artwork. I think it's quite good. It's got a guest appearance of a certain character from a certain series of books that I would love to see in a collected edition or a complete collection. Unfortunately, those comics, and I'm not going to mention comic because it will spoil the story, would be brilliant. But at the moment, I don't think there is. Someone will probably put in the comments saying, yes, there is a collection, and probably out of print now, and it's probably worth about £6 million or something. However, the next story, which I really thought was unusual. Now, the artwork's unusual, the colour's really quite unusual at times, and also not only that, you've got Scarlet Witch looking like in her old style Scarlet Witch. You've got, that's sort of odd. However, well, I guess in a sense that she's still occasionally they've like varied obviously her costume, didn't they? But it just, when I looked at this, I thought, oh, it's strange. But however, she goes to this university and she meets this person, obviously after meeting her loyal fans, and she sort of goes there obviously and well, I wouldn't trust this guy as far as I could throw him. So immediately you meet him, you know that he's up to no good. And there's a character. I mean, who would go and have a drink with this guy? He looks as shifty as they come, especially the way the lighting's done. You immediately think, yeah, sure. But that's still quite a decent. It actually splits the story, so it goes over. It's Marvel Comics Present. I never actually bought that magazine. It's one of those ones that maybe I should have checked it out more often. However, it goes back in time. So you got the story. So Pirate's Life for Me, which is quite nice because also not only that, it ties in with a storyline that was very early in the Fantastic Four. So that's quite nice. And you can guess because they've got to mention pirates, that there's a certain story that's connected with that. So that's quite a nice little tie-up. Also, the nice next story, which is still continuing on, this is slightly weird. I assume this was a back page, this bit here. However, it's obviously also had Poison in it and Thor versus the first vampire. Okay. You've got this bit where she's obviously separated from her body, a bit like Doctor Strange always had. Doctor Strange had that storyline so often. He'd be like, where's my body gone? Or I can't get... really, maybe you should, if you're going to go and split away from your body, leave it in a place that you're going to make it reasonably easy to make so no one gets it or stops you from getting back. However, that was a good story. Nice ending as well. Now, the next story is one that I read recently in another collection. So, the Scarlet Witch story, Marvel Comic Presents. And the artwork is by Charles Adlard, and it's fine. Bit all over the place. I really have no idea what the story was about. Nice ending, but it's sort of like about pixels and data and being sort of the devil and I don't know. No idea. That just baffled. I just thought, I'm certain when they created it, it was obviously they knew what they were doing, but it's to me, it's just like lost me. However, next story is really good. And this one is, you got the Scarlet Witch. The origin of the Scarlet Witch, the real origin of the Scarlet Witch. I mean, obviously we've had little sort of bits and pieces where we learn a little bit about the Scarlet Witch, but it gave a little bit of, and it was nice because it tied in with lots of like Baron Mordo, also Serpent Crown as well. So there's some quite good. You got her in obviously in this village and with her family, and that's a real nice story. I like the artwork as well. Very dramatic. And then on to the final, well, I don't know if it's the final story, probably isn't the final story. Saying it's the final story, probably wrong. Avengers Origins, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. And this is quite good because it's nice. Ties in with Magneto, the Avengers, obviously them coming over to New York, finally joining. And that's quite good. And you've also got lots of appearances from the X-Men as well. Obviously, and Cyclops there. So you've got a bit of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, which again would have been really nice if they'd included the X-Men issue 4. I know it's been reprinted 5,000 times, but it's sometimes you just always feel that that it would be nice to. Oh yes, that was the final story. So that's it. You've got a nice little tie-up. Slightly odd order. Personally, I would have stuck this story, or maybe the other story, the one with the origin, at the start. It would have made sense. Have the origin where she's obviously first uses her power first, and then the next story where she obviously and then maybe the stories later which are obviously clearly later, so it would have been chronologically sensible. And also, of course, like inclusion of some other stories would have been brilliant. Especially here, Marvel Fanfare issue 45. I'm certain there were many other stories with Scarlet Witch, and she's one of the characters that I always thought was a really good character, but never really. She's always like been connected with other people quite often, and yet at the same time, she's immensely powerful. I mean, there's like obviously various things in the Marvel universe have been changed because of the Scarlet Witch. And yet, for some weird reason, she's never been, maybe because with the TV series coming out, obviously the Disney one, maybe they come out with a proper collection, real nice, complete Scarlet Witch, and I'm certain I will be rushing to buy a copy or volume 1 and volume 2 of that, if they ever do that. That would be great. But at the moment, of course, there are a few other collections as well to check out, but this is obviously Vision and Scarlet Witch comes to mind, and there's a few of those sort of ones, Scarlet Witch and Vision, probably. So it would be nice to have them all in one place. And you've got the obviously back page there, of course, black and white, and you've got other ones there. Now they've got also a couple other ones. You've got this one, Avengers Quicksilver, and things as well. That bit baffles me, why they put a picture of Scarlet Witch looking obviously from the very early days, whereas they don't include the story. Very strange. However, as a collection goes, about 4 out of 5, I would say. I mean, I liked it. It was good because it was some decent stories in it. Not all of them brilliant, but I quite enjoyed it. It's just a pity it could have been so much better. That's the thing that always slightly annoys when you look at these things. You think, right, you've gone obviously half the way to make a really decent collection. Just a little bit more, and you could have made a brilliant collection that would have been just one of those ones you think, yes, excellent. But still, I liked it. And so Avengers Scarlet Witch, Abnett and Lanning, fairly well sort of recommended is the best sort of I can give for this. 4 out of 5.